Tonight on To the Point, thousands of students return to Sacramento City schools as the district struggles with a budget shortfall. California's top election position, the center of debate. The urgent push to make the Secretary of State a nonpartisan position. President Trump wants proof of citizenship to vote. Critics say millions of Americans could be blocked. We'll break down the SAFE Act.
But what we're seeing now is a rigged ticketing system
And the push to bring fairness and transparency to the ticket marketplace. 40,000 students in the Sacramento City Unified School District returned to the classroom today. Good evening. As always, thank you so much for joining us on To the Point. I'm Alex Bell. Classes for TK through 12th grade officially started. This is a look at McClatchy High School just this morning. You can see the balloons up, everyone getting ready. But look, students are coming back to a district facing some serious financial problems, and a recent appeal over its labor deal was just denied. AB's 10's Beck Habegger joins us in studio with a look at those numbers.
Yeah, Alex, $80 million. That's approximately the projected cash shortfall Sac City Unified is facing by the end of the fiscal year in late June. And they're expected to start running out of money 2 months before that in late April. Now, while that's an improvement over previous estimates, I asked about next steps to keep bettering the fiscal picture.
It's like we're trying to scale a really big mountain.
Tara Jean is president of the Sacramento City Unified Board of Education, which is doing everything it can to avoid requesting an emergency loan from the state.
Going to the state just gets you cash. It doesn't solve your problems.
Asking for a state bailout is a last resort for a district on the brink of insolvency, or in other words, running out of cash. Once granted, all board members lose their authority, the district superintendent is fired, and the county superintendent and state leaders appoint a trustee to lead the district until it recovers financially, a process that can take years.
We are determined to ensure that our local community and employees and students are a part of what we decide to do in our district.
To that end, as ABC 10 has been reporting, the board approved an agreement between the district and Sacramento City Teachers Association to free up nearly $100 million, using money from a retiree health benefit fund, Medi-Cal reimbursement fund, as well as unfilled vacancies. But when a local school district is on the brink of insolvency, the County Office of Education steps in to provide financial oversight. In this case, a financial advisor appointed by the Sacramento County Office of Education, or SCOE, rescinded the agreement, saying the agreement ties the district's hands long-term and would only temporarily delay the district's impending insolvency by a few weeks, while also making it more difficult for the district to make a sustainable long-term fiscal recovery. At a meeting last week, board members voted to appeal that decision to State Superintendent Tony Thurmond, asking him to step in. In 2 letters sent Monday, Thurmond denied the board's appeal, but also said he thinks the district's agreement with the teachers union would help the financial picture. He encouraged the county and district to continue working together towards solutions.
Our commitment is to say we will keep moving step by step, piece by piece, to get over that mountain together.
She and other district leaders met last week with SCOE, the state superintendent's office, and the Fiscal Crisis and Management Assistance Team called FICMAT. That's an independent state agency tasked with helping districts in crisis. All these stakeholders went over the district's financial plans together and got on the same page in terms of the projected cash shortfall, about $80 million by the end of June, with insolvency starting in late April if nothing is changed. I spoke on the phone separately with SCOE Superintendent Dave Gordon and FICMAT CEO Mike Fine. Both agreed the meetings were helpful. Gordon says SCOE stands by its appointed fiscal advisor's rescission of the district's agreement with the teachers union, but is open to exploring a revised version. Fine says the most important thing right now is drilling down into the details of a $158 million fiscal sustainability plan the board passed last month, noting the district may yet be able to avoid running out of cash this school year, but he can't assess that until he sees the granular financial details of the plan.
The school board's next regular meeting is August 20th. FICMAT says any hopes of remaining solvent and avoiding requesting an emergency loan from the state will require some pretty drastic action sooner rather than later. And long-term financial recovery will likely involve painful cuts for next school year. Alex?
All right, Becca, thank you. Well, Steve Hilton stopped by Sacramento today. The Republican candidate for California governor spoke outside the state capitol alongside the Republican candidate for state controller, Herb Morgan, who laid out his plan to change the way California manages its money, which does include cutting the executive branch workforce by 10%, as well as making other cuts.
Stopping the continuing hemorrhaging of funds for high-speed rail, more billions over time. Taken together, these come out to about $30 billion. These and other targeted reforms that Steve and I have already identified put us on a credible path to $50 billion in savings in the first year.
During that same presser, Steve Hilton doubled down on what he calls his Cal-Affordable plan.
This is the plan. It is part of our Cal-Affordable plan, and this is what we are announcing today. Operation Zero Waste. This is your money. It's your tax money. It is completely outrageous for your money to be wasted on things that don't deliver the results that we want.
Democratic candidate Javier Becerra is also in Sacramento tonight, attending a political summit. He was asked what voters can expect from him if he's elected governor.
I can make some really big promises, but that doesn't get us anywhere. It may get me elected, but I would prefer not to run on inflated promises that then I can't deliver on.
A few minutes ago, we are continuing to follow the governor's race. Of course, if you do have any questions about the race or even the candidates themselves, you can reach out to our team at to-the-point-ott-kxtv.com. All right, in the final month of the California legislative session, there is an urgent push by Republicans to make the state's chief elections position a nonpartisan one. ABC 10 State Matters political reporter Jenny Huh explains that debate.
They want nonpartisan information, they want accurate information, and they really want to take the partisan games out of our politics.
And so Republican Assembly members Josh Hoover and Natasha Johnson are pushing to make California's chief elections office a nonpartisan position. Shirley Weber, a Democrat, is the current California Secretary of State.
Should a Secretary of State who is tasked with a very important job, which is ensuring trust, ensuring that the vote is counted properly, should that individual be engaging in politics of any kind?
Under the California Constitution, all judicial, school, county, and city offices, as well as the Superintendent of Public Instruction, are nonpartisan. But when voting for Secretary of State, voters see the D, R, or whatever party affiliation next to the candidates' names. And to be very clear, would you and your colleagues be proposing this measure even if the Secretary of State were a Republican?
Oh, 100%.
Hoover notes Republicans and Democrats alike have shown partisanship in nonpartisan positions. With Weber, Hoover didn't point to examples, but broadly discussed her former endorsements of ballot measures and candidates, and that she has been at odds with President Trump over the administration of California elections.
We know, based on statements that have been put out on a number of different very politically charged issues, that the Secretary of State has a partisan influence and has a partisan lean.
Secretary Weber declined to comment. Her office stated they do not comment on pending legislation. We did not hear back from the governor's office on their reaction to the proposal. But voting expert Dr. Mindy Romero notes while Weber's team is responsible for printing and putting out ballots and certifying voting equipment and election results, elections are administered at the local level by nonpartisan registrars of voters.
We have 58 counties, we have 58 elections, and all of our election officials, our county registrars, whether they're appointed or elected, are nonpartisan. They're required to be nonpartisan.
Romero also says while the 50 states vary in whether they have a Secretary of State or if the Secretary of State is elected or appointed, all of them are partisan, which can help them win an election.
Which does mean that there is influence from the parties. All people really often want to see is that party identification, and then they trust, right, and want to vote for that individual.
The proposal faces a time crunch with the legislative session ending this month. If it passes, voters will get the final say on their June 2028 ballot. Jenny Huh, ABC 10.
In response, Democratic Assembly member Gail Pellerin, chair of the Assembly Elections Committee, says in part, quote, the legislature has previously considered efforts to make the Secretary of State's office a nonpartisan position. I will give this proposal the thoughtful consideration it deserves if and when it is referred to the committee for a hearing. Still a lot more news to get to, like the SAVE Act. It could change how millions of Americans register to vote. Some of you actually wrote in asking us about it, so we'll tell you what's being proposed and what it could mean for California voters. And ticket prices for concerts or events can get pretty expensive, but a new California bill could put a limit on how much you pay.
And we're trading the heat for fire danger. We've got dry lightning potential the next 3 days in the high country. I've got a full look at that forecast after the break.
But first, another headlines tonight.
It was hurtful because I could have lost my brother that day.
The search is on tonight for a suspect in a hit and run that happened in Vacaville early Sunday morning. A 57-year-old man is recovering after he was hit from behind while riding his scooter on Davis Street. The family is now asking their community to come forward with any information. Rescue workers in Colombia are searching through rubble, looking for any signs of life after Monday's powerful 7.4 earthquake. Entire apartment buildings collapsed, trapping people under debris. A 6-month-old baby was pulled alive from the rubble. Colombia's president declared an emergency to speed up recovery efforts. The U.S. has promised more than $15 million for emergency shelter, food, and other aid. And France is cracking down on telemarketing. A new law now requires companies to get consumers' consent before making sales calls. That consent must clearly state the terms and last no more than 1 year. The law follows a survey showing 97% of French people say telemarketing calls annoy them. California Fair Plan is raising its rates. That's the state's insurer of last resort for property owners who cannot get fire coverage through a traditional insurance company. Now, the rates are set to increase an average of 29.1%. Some policies will be increasing more, some will be increasing less. The new rates begin on October 15th of this year. Again, October 15th. For existing policyholders, the new rates would take effect upon renewal or after that date. All right, let's get things over to weather. Brendan, how are we looking out there?
Temperatures coming down from where they've been for most of the month so far, but fire danger is going up, and that's because of some dry lightning potential. We didn't have that today, but we will the next few days. 91 was our high this afternoon in the capital city, 96 in Stockton, 94 in Modesto, 94 Jackson, 88 in Truckee, and 86 in Tahoe. Very seasonal across the valley. Instead of us running 5 to 10 degrees warmer than normal, like much of the month so far, we're back where we'd expect to be. 87 in Sacramento right now, 91 Stockton, 94 Modesto, 70s and 80s in the high country, and a nice onshore wind is developing. So a nice evening ahead with the Delta breeze, clear skies, 87 right now. 70s by 9 o'clock will fall through the 60s, and a few clouds start moving in through the overnight. Wednesday morning starts off right near seasonal. I've got 59 for a forecast low, and our normal low is 59 in Sacramento, 61 in Stockton, about 65 in Modesto, 63 up in Oroville, 71 in Nevada City, and some mid-40s up near Tahoe. Wednesday afternoon, mild temperatures at, if not even a little below normal as we go through Wednesday. 89 in Sacramento, 92 Stockton, 93 in Modesto, 91 in Sonora and Angels Camp, 88 in Auburn, 81 in Truckee, and 78 in Tahoe. But we'll be looking for more storms up in the high country. So this weather impact alert: Sierra above 3,000 feet Wednesday to Friday. High fire danger, dry lightning potential. Be fire ready. Make sure that go bag is packed and you know your evacuation plan. So looking at futurecasts, some clouds through the overnight, some showers down near Yosemite. By lunchtime, we start to see some thunderstorms popping up along 395. Most of the activity tomorrow, kind of like today, south of Tahoe, down the eastern slope, down through 395. Let's fast forward to Thursday, though. This model showing some isolated showers as we go into the early morning hours on Thursday, and it's not showing much Thursday afternoon, but I really do think Thursday is going to be the prime day for dry lightning. We've got a fire weather watch Thursday, 5 a.m. to 9 p.m. Numerous new fires may start and spread quickly. So again, dry lightning potential in the foothills and in the high country as we go through the next few days. So make sure you're staying fire ready, fire prepared. Here in the valley, though, temperatures much cooler. Alex.
All right, Brendan, thank you. Right after the break, new rules for registering to vote could be on the table in Washington. What you need to know about the SAVE Act. And a new vaccine policy for children is drawing pushback from doctors and Republicans. What's changing and why some medical experts say that it could put kids at risk. Voter rights. It's one of the biggest fights of this election year. President Donald Trump is pushing Congress to pass the Save America Act, a strict proof of citizenship voting bill. Now, we received a couple emails from you at home asking for clarity on this issue. So here's what the SAVE Act would do and also what it means for California voters. The SAVE Act, or the Safeguard America Voter Eligibility Act, was introduced in the House of Representatives in January 2025. It would require proof of U.S. citizenship to register for federal elections. That includes a passport or certified birth certificate. A standard driver's license would not currently qualify in most states. The bill would also require photo ID at the polls and mandate that states submit voter registration rolls to the Department of Homeland Security for citizenship verification. Election officials who register voters without the required documents could face criminal penalties. If you are already registered to vote, you won't need to do anything. However, under the SAVE Act, voters who need to submit a new registration application in the future, such as after moving or changing their name, would have to provide proof of U.S. citizenship. Supporters like President Donald Trump argue the measure is needed to ensure only citizens cast ballots.
I think the Save America Act is exactly what it says. It's saving America from crooked elections.
While critics of the bill say it could block millions of eligible voters from registering and that non-citizen voting is already a federal crime that rarely occurs. California Senator Alex Padilla speaking against the bill earlier this year.
The SAVE Act does not allow Americans to use their driver's licenses or common IDs to register to vote. The SAVE Act would require a passport in order to vote, something that half of Americans don't have.
The Bipartisan Policy Center, a Washington, D.C. based think tank, says there are additional challenges.
Right, this is a pretty large country, and 12% is like 25 million eligible Americans now do not have access to a form of ID that proves something that they're already allowed to do. And that burden is now on the voter as opposed to on the government. And that is a significant shift in how we've done registration for U.S. elections for the past 30 years.
So what about voting by mail? Many Californians get their mail-in ballot at home. According to the Secretary of State's office, out of the 9.4 million ballots cast in the June primary, more than 8 million were cast by mail. Under the SAVE Act, if you register to vote by mail, you will still have to go in person to show documentation. Now stay with me here, because here in California, voters will decide on a similar voter ID measure this November. It's called Proposition 39. You probably already heard of it, and it would require stricter identification when voting. So I do want to take some time to look at what, Prop 39 would do here. So it would require voters in person to present government-issued ID. For people voting by mail, you would need to provide the last 4 digits of your Social Security number or your driver's license on the vote by mail envelope. And it would also require the state to provide voter ID cards upon request. If you do want to see more about Prop 39, make sure you head over to our website over at abc10.com. Doctors are pushing back today on President Donald Trump's new executive order overhauling the childhood vaccine schedule. The order recommends children get vaccinated against 11 diseases, which is down from 18. It also recommends splitting measles, mumps, and rubella, the MMR vaccine, into 3 separate individual shots. The vaccine currently is only available together in the U.S., not separately. The American Academy of Pediatrics is now coming out against the recommendation, saying children will suffer.
If we end up not giving the same kinds of vaccines that we're giving now, children are going to end up contracting diseases that they could otherwise avoid, and some percent of those are going to die.
HHS Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is a longtime vaccine skeptic and continues to insist without evidence that vaccines are linked to autism. And President Trump claims the MMR vaccine is lethal, but when pressed, did not provide evidence to back up those claims.
Is there any evidence of that? Because anyone in the room?
What I've heard is that there are some people that say it is that way.
Republican Senator Bill Cassidy, who is also a doctor, is pushing back, saying that the order will, quote, make children less safe and is wrong. All right, coming up right after the break, concert tickets can get pretty expensive. How a new California bill is trying to cap those prices. Before we go here, if you have ever bought a ticket to a concert or other big events, you know the sticker shock that definitely comes with it. But now there is a new bill that's being proposed that would help keep prices from skyrocketing. Assemblymember Matt Haney joined venue operators, artists, and consumer advocates today to push for the California Fans First Act. It would actually cap resale prices to no more than 10% above face value for live entertainment events at independently operated venues. Haney says that this will help fans, local venues, and the artists from scalpers. The bill is making its way through the Senate. If it passes, of course, it goes to Governor Gavin Newsom's desk. And before we go here, I just want to say, Kim, if you were watching, I want to say hi. I actually ran into your daughter today and she said you watch our show all the time. I just want to say thank you so much, Kim, for watching our show. We really appreciate your viewership. Of course, if you ever have any questions or story ideas, reach out to our team anytime at to-the-point@abc10.com. I'll see you tomorrow.